Kezang, I know you like writing poetry, so tell us briefly about your hobbies and your likes and dislikes.
I find pleasure in all fields of arts, be it music, poetry, painting, cinema. So yeah, but mostly I'm into writing poetry because I feel I'm a bit good in it compared to others. And then I've also started to invest in my spirituality. So I think that's a good trait.
And you published a poetry book when you were 16. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so I published a book 3 years ago. The title is called Impressions. There are 25 poems for 25 different paintings that were hung on the walls of Vaspatan. So yeah, I gained a lot of positive feedbacks, and after a lot of trial and error, the book was out. But 3 years have passed since I've not published another book, and I'm still under dilemma of whether to do my second book or not. But for now, I guess I like to keep poetry as a personal expression, and not have any underlying agendas about it. So yeah.
So tell us what inspired you to publish that book?
It was mostly art and creativity that really intrigued me. I joined FAST, and after 6 months or so, I decided that I wanted to express and support art and creativity in Bhutan, but then I also wanted to include my poetry in it. So yeah, I gained a lot of support from VAST, so I'm thankful for that.
And I have interviewed you when you published your book, and you have shared your experience with depression. So can you walk us through your experience?
So around age 15, when I was in 11th grade, I was diagnosed with depression. And then, yeah, I feel that, being diagnosed is very important, and seeking medical help is very important. Most of us kids, when we're 14 or 15, we do not have that knowledge to seek out for help. And even if we do want help from others, we are stigmatized into, refraining from doing that because of, their stories might get leaked through their counselor, and there's a lot of shame in doing that. But I feel that a lot of we should encourage the youths to come out and reach out for help, because most of the healing process is done through counseling and medical help, I feel. So yeah, I sought help from the hospital. So I got medical treatments, and that's how I got better.
So you were very young that time. So how did you know something was not right with you? How did you know it was depression?
I was always keen to learning, and then I feel like before I was diagnosed, I knew that something was wrong with me, but I didn't want to live in that clutter anymore. So I kept asking questions to myself, like what was wrong with me and what was the problem. I tried to find a root cause, and I wanted to get out of it, so I tried to find solutions for it. And then I felt sick, so I went to the hospital, and then the doctor asked me what was wrong with me, and I guess he found out the symptoms of it. Yeah.
So there might be some of our viewers, maybe they have some friends, or maybe they themselves must be suffering from depression. And I think most people who suffer from mental illness or mental issues, they are in denial. So what would be your advice? Not advice, I mean, maybe how would you ask them to seek help?
I think first of all, they need to communicate. Communication has a lot of positive aspect towards it, and they need to communicate with their friends and family. But if they if their friends and family aren't that receptive, like they do not reciprocate properly, then I feel like with a lot of growing engagement in social media platforms, there are chat rooms and Facebook community that you can engage, you can, you know, converse with those people, even if they're strangers. Like there are some people who go out of the way to help you and, you know, listen to you. So I feel like you should definitely talk, even if it's not just friends and family. You can talk with a stranger. Like, you'll be amazed how many people there are who are willing to help you if you just, you know, try and express yourself.
And now you're fully recovered from depression, right?
Yeah.
So tell us about your healing process.
So many people associate depression, you know, sadness with depression, and I think a lot of people do not really know that the difference in it. So a lot of Facebook posts and, you know, social media content, they tend to target towards vulnerable youths, romanticizing and glorifying sadness and, you know, associating it with depression. So I feel like choosing the right content to you know, consume is also very important, because I feel like youths are more vulnerable to mental health issues, but they do not really have that much knowledge about, you know, what they're going through, whether it's just a simple stress, or if it's sadness, or actually if it's pretty serious. So yeah, the right content choosing is important. So coming back to my recovery, I had that experience of, you know, there was this event that I wanted to, you know, take my life, and then so yeah, I was about to do it, and then I looked at that object from with which I was gonna, you know, take my life, and then I stared at it for a long time, and then I was looking at it, and then I realized, like, nope, that's not gonna happen. Like, you know, I have, like, the world is gonna keep spinning even if I'm alive or not, so I might as well just go on about it. And after that, like, a strong optimism like grew into me, and then after that, everything that I did or, you know, saw, I looked at it with such strong positivity and the will to go on. So that was like, I feel like I was lucky for that, because like most of the people, they do something, then only realize it later afterwards, like what they did was, you know, regretful. But then I had that in a reversed manner, so I feel like I was lucky. And yeah, also I feel like I had, you know, I have very strong and supportive parents, so that played the most important part in my life, because I was vulnerable when I was 15, and then I needed, you know, strong guidance, which I received, so I was lucky. But then there are also some misconceptions that, you know, a privileged environment creates happy and safer children. But I feel that the emotional journey of a young child is very personal, and that even if they are, you know, they have been grown in a positive and safe environment, there are some situations, like it can happen in a random, you know, walk in the park, or it can happen in class, which parents do not have much knowledge about. There can be bullies, there can be peer pressure, and, you know, there are a lot of different factors which, like, most adults do not take into consideration. So, you know, like, most of them, they would ask me, like, you were given everything that you needed, like, how can you be sad? But that's, you know, you yeah,
That's not true.
yeah.
Right?
So I feel like there are different aspects towards, there are different reasons to how a child can get into mental health issues. So there's a lot of communication gap between youths and adults. So I feel like proper communication must be needed. So I was lucky with that. So I was also willing to, reach out, and then the adults circling around me, they were also willing to help. So there was a lot of give and take. That was a positive aspect about it.
And I think we have also seen a growing number of suicide cases in Bhutan. I also sometimes wonder that so many beautiful people, they take their own life. So you must be talking with your friends as well, like especially the younger generation. So how do you, not exactly advocate, but how do you advise them? Because you had similar experience, right?
I feel like when you're 14 and 15, when you're in your grade 7, 8 and so on, most of the changes happen during that period. And then there's a lot of shift from, being a preteen or teenager and suddenly shifting into the adulthood. So it can get overwhelming, I understand. So I think suicide has to do, it can be triggered through a lot of peer pressure, I feel, a lot of influence from the social media. But from my experience, a lot of us talk about, wanting to kill ourselves, whether it's in the form of humor or, we're having some serious conversation. So I've realized that there are a lot of youths who are just like me, going through a lot of emotional confusion, and I think that's normal. There will be tendencies, because when you're a preteen and a teenager who is suddenly exposed to adulthood, and you have only seen a quarter of the world, but you're expected to make big decisions already. So I understand that it can get overwhelming. So there's a lot of stress growing from it. But what most of us do not realize is that there are going to be bigger and more stressful problems in our lives as we grow up. And if we get out of this right now, we will become more resilient as the years go by, as we experience more tougher situations. So I feel like there needs to be a lot of resilience in us. But at the same time, I also understand how vulnerable we can be, because it's a turning point in our lives. And that's why I think most of us, we want to escape, but we do not know how to, do it in a healthy manner. That's why we get into toxic substances and all these negative indulges. But I totally understand that, and I feel like the more sensible, more knowledgeable people should accept that the children are going through something, and that they are seeking help through an although temporary situation, but they are doing that, and that not to throw hate at them or look at them in downlook them, and actually acknowledge that they are going through something and that they can get out of it. And the wise and more older people, they can help them. So I don't know, there needs to be equal giving and receiving when it comes to such stuffs that we young adults go through. And yeah, we definitely talk about wanting to kill ourselves, and then I realized that thing is so common between us that we have normalized talking about it. So I feel it's a rising issue, and that if we are not given the right assistant, if we do not receive the right assistance, we definitely will. I think that's how most of us, take our own lives. And I think the right assistance is needed in that.
And the key is communication, right?
Yeah.
While we were chatting, you also mentioned that you were recently diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder. So what is generalized anxiety disorder?
It's a form of anxiety where every minute details of your life, you overthink about it, and it's basically you overthinking about everything 24/7. So, and then there's a lot of fear and anger circling around generalized anxiety disorder. Yeah.
It's basically you have panic attacks over day-to-day life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like day-to-day activities.
I was going through anxiety. It affected how I functioned daily. Like I couldn't sleep by myself, so I had to sleep with my roommate, and I couldn't visit the toilet by myself. I had to have a friend assisted. I couldn't walk in the dark. Also, I had to always keep the lights on, and then I couldn't put even my phone charger in the socket because I imagined myself getting a shock, or I couldn't light a gas stove because I imagined that it was gonna burst. And like if a room was silent for a long time, and then if suddenly someone maybe hiccuped or burped, then I would panic, because, and then also there's a lot of incidents like the night, when the night comes, it's more scary when the night comes, because, and then I have to go to visit the bathroom to wash my face, and while washing my face I have to close my eyes. So if I closed my eyes, I would imagine someone attacking me from the back. So I would always have my roommate assist me while washing my face. So yeah, there were a lot of incidents like that, and I couldn't do even the smallest basic things that we are supposed to do. I couldn't do that properly without having a second thought or panicking or getting scared about it. So it definitely hampered my day-to-day life. And then it got worse during the lockdown, because there were not many platforms where I could express and where I could divert my attention to. There weren't a lot of distractions, so that was it got worse during that time. And yeah, and then it was too I couldn't I couldn't sleep at night, so I had to ask sleeping pills from my college nurse. So that's when she dug deeper. She asked me more stuffs, and then that's how they found out that I was going through something. So yeah.
I think it was covered in newspapers and then so many media that especially during lockdown there were so many calls for help. So I'm sure you might have discussed or communicated with your friends. So if you could just throw light concerns about your friends and peers.
Although the general public do not want to accept that our youths are consuming toxic substances, but most of us are, and that's the reality we have to accept. And since, like I said, they are seeking assistance, but they do not know the difference of a temporary unhealthy response instead of actually getting positive help. Since they do not know the difference, they tend to get into the toxic substances. So there's a lot, I think majority of us, we consume toxic substances, and with the lockdown being imposed on us, it was so surprisingly, and it was difficult for us to, not be without our distractions and our solutions. So I think most of us went through withdrawal symptoms. There were cases of, people, youths going over their boundary to, get their cigarettes or alcohol and their stuffs. So I feel like without that, most of us went through withdrawal symptoms. So I think that was the hardest part. But then there were a lot of backlash received when the government decided to give out cigarettes. There were a lot of backlash from anonymous accounts in Bhutanese forums, but I feel like since they have not gone through that, they would not understand it, because when you're going through withdrawal symptom, you're at a very vulnerable stage. Like just giving verbal advices and counseling, that doesn't help when you're in such a difficult situation. Like it's not that easy, but I feel like the government did understand that and they actually helped us. So for that, we're very grateful.
If there's one thing you can change about your life, what would that be?
I think I have a lot, there's a lot of stuffs that I want to change. I would change if I were given the chance, but I know it sounds cliche, but there's no point in having regrets. So, we cannot change our past, so you might as well, go forward. So, although I have made mistakes in my past, I have accepted them because there's no changing. And what they made, every experience, every event, every mistake, they have made me into the person I am today. So it has been a personal and positive growth for me, despite all the negative turns I took. So I am looking at it in a very optimistic perspective. So yeah, I do not want to change anything.
Keza, your advice for our viewers, especially youth your age, who must be going through anxiety right now, especially because of the pandemic?
The first and foremost thing you need to do is have the willingness to change. Like it's all in your hand at the end, whether you want to, move on or stay in that clutter. So I feel like there needs to be willingness to change for your own positive growth, for your self-growth. And then the second thing would be to communicate, because most of the healing part happens when you communicate and express yourself. And it doesn't have to be a person, it can be a platform, a creative platform you can engage in. So that's very important. And then seeking medical and professional help is also very important. There's no shame in doing that, and you should just, go for it. And lastly, it would be about, contemplating on your mental health issues. Like if you're going through something, first you should do a lot of thinking about that, like why you are going through that and what is the main root, problem of why you're going through that and what is the solution. You have to keep contemplating on that and, look for the answer, and eventually you will. And yeah, different aspects of contemplation can be, you can meditate. I start off my day with maybe 7 minutes or so of meditation, and the rest of the day turns out very calm, and I do not react over trivial situations. So meditation really helps. It also helps you to, reduce your stress, and then since you become more mindful when you meditate, so you are aware of your situation, your surrounding, so that can help. So lastly, I think there needs to be gratitude. You have to be grateful of what you have, because there are people who are, when we used to get annoyed when our parents used to say there are people dying in Africa, but the truth is there are people who are going through more tougher situations, but they still get out of it, and that should be an inspiration itself for you to, not live in your negative space anymore, and that you should be grateful of what you have been given right now, and that there are people who are going through a lot during the lockdown, but our country has been, our government has been really kind to us vulnerable youths. We have been given assistance for mental health issues, domestic violence, and withdrawal symptoms. So, we have been given solutions. We just have to reach out. There's a lot of possibilities for positive growth. It's just that we have to be willing to do that, and that we have to be grateful, because gratitude teaches you humility. Yeah.
Beautifully said. Keza, thank you very much for your time, sharing your experience with us, and stay as beautiful a person you are, and as creative and as positive as you are.